Welcome back to the Free Mouse MC YouTube channel, and I yesterday commuted with this beauty to university and then realized, man, I gotta make a video talking about my 2 years of ownership with the Royal Enfield Interceptor. I bought it in autumn 2 years ago. That's now almost 2.5 years, but the bike stood quite a lot in the garage for the last half year because I was really busy with work. And also my perspective on this motorbike changed quite a lot during the 2 years of ownership. I put 25,000 kilometers onto the bike with quite different kinds of riding, like traveling. I did a motorbike surf trip. I did quite a lot of off-roading, put it over the Trans-Europe Trail, even though it's not made for it, and used it as a city commuter bike, and also did some modifications to it. And it has experienced all kinds of different things, from standing outside while doing a camping trip for 2 months to being a garage bike. So we have a really varied experience of what it's like to owning this bike. I also serviced this motorcycle myself partially, then basically outside of the warranty, and some things that we will get to in a second. And also my perspective changed quite a lot, because when I first got this bike I mostly rode older motorbikes before, and then now I rode a bunch of modern motorbikes in my work as a motorbike journalist. And with that, now basically I have all the different perspectives that you can have on this bike, and with that I hope you enjoy. So why did I want a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650? I previously had a sports tourer from the 1990s that served me quite well for around 30,000 kilometers that I did a bunch of trips with, and that I occasionally misused as a scrambler, and I basically wanted a bike that can do the same. And I was tired of 4-cylinder carburetors. And at the same time, I've driven that sport tourer quite a lot around Paris, and like, it's such a beautiful city, and just living on a motorbike there is such a different and nice experience, and I kind of wished that I would experience that on a more beautiful bike. I actually have the exact moment when that thought formed in me on camera, because I was following this modern classic bike through traffic. I don't know if it was a Triumph or a Royal Enfield, and instantly was like, man, I wish I would be on that motorbike. At the end of the day, it was perfect being with that bike, because no one wants to steal that thing, so that was actually really good. But I had the reason I want to experience city riding on a beautiful motorbike, and that kind of was the perfect timing, because at the time the distributor for Royal Enfield doesn't distribute over them anymore, but they had some financial troubles, KSR Group, so I managed to pick this motorbike up for $4,000 and got myself some extras like the bash plate and stuff and the suitcases for $500. And that was really, really lovely, because if I remember correctly, I think the bikes back then were traded around $6,500. That's also still the price that the majority of them goes for on the used market, with around 10 to 13,000 kilometers. The new price right now is $7,690, so I made quite a good deal on this bike and was quite happy. When I first got the bike, I was so happy with it, just ripping around my local twisty countryside roads with it. It was just a lovely experience, and pretty much after, I got going on my first big motorcycle trip with it, a motorcycle surf trip to be exact, which was just a wild idea. And when getting going, I almost didn't believe what I was doing with this motorbike, and making all the way from Germany all the way to the coast of France, and then finally arriving in Brittany and seeing the Mont Saint-Michel. And the ride all the way there, and also the riding I then did when I arrived in Brittany, was just so chill and laid back. The Interceptor turned out to be the perfect bike to just take in the countryside. Let's talk about the engine for a bit. The 648cc air and oil cooled engine produces 47 horsepower and 52 Nm of torque, and that with a 270-degree crank. With that, it's in the A2 performance section, a really, really unique and characterful engine, and really great in that regard. Also, it has such a nice low down grunt, and basically it's enough power to get around, have fun, but it's like going for a chill and relaxed walk all the time, and you don't scare yourself, and you can use the whole bike. That is really lovely, and it's really good to slow down a little bit, and it brings a nice character to the Interceptor. The Interceptor really often feels like a motorbike that's not really comparable to other motorbikes, because it basically, with it being slower and more chill, it doesn't demand that much of you. It's a motorbike that you can really easily tell like your girlfriend or your mum that you're riding this thing, and it's not tiring in that regard, and that is really, really great. I ended up doing a 5,000 kilometer tour from the Presqu'île de Crozon all the way to Lisbon, visiting every surf beach on the way, and the Interceptor handled it perfectly. Sadly, Royal Enfield doesn't offer the motorcycle surfboard mount anymore as an extra, and you currently can't buy one anywhere. However, I promised something to you guys about almost 1 year ago, because a lot of people were writing me emails where they can get one of those things. So I and my uncle over the winter designed our own motorcycle surfboard mount and are currently producing them by hand, and it's quite a nice piece with a nice leather belt to strap down the board, nice tape around it so that your board is protected, and a quick release mechanism so that you can quickly put the mount on and put it off if you want to use your bike normally. And it's quite nice, and I'm so happy that this is done. Like, if you need to find parking easily at your local surf spot, this is literally the best way to do it, and it's so nice driving the motorcycle with the surfboard on the side, going to your local surf spot. I luckily have a surf spot here right in my town, but it's also nice for going on a big surfing vacation and just having your board on the side, your tent on the back, and like exploring a coastline like this. So if you want one of those, definitely check out the link in the description. They're really, really nice, and it's, I think, the coolest modification you can do to the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. This also works for the Royal Enfield Continental GT and also for the Bear, but on the Bear it only works on the left side of the motorbike because of the exhaust. Does the bike keep what it's promising? That question is a bit tough to answer, with Royal Enfield blurring the line between motorcycle brand and lifestyle brand. If you look at all their marketing, if you look at how they basically pitch the experience of their motorcycle being like this classic, beautiful motorcycle that's like focused on the raw experience and all that kind of stuff, and with them having basically all the engines in the A2 license requirement, and then having these beautifully designed motorbikes. And I have to say yes, like it really follows up on that. Like if you, like I right now mostly use this as a commuter and city cruiser, and you feel really, really cool riding the motorbike, and the feel with the sound and all that. It really gives you what basically Royal Enfield commercial is promising you. And like then also, and if you have the surfboard on the side, you know, driving through Biarritz, just when surfing, still have the wet hair and go for a coffee with still the sand on your arms, and you look at your beautiful motorbike. Like that's fitting. That pretty much is what is promised. However, that kind of approach of like is glazing over some issues that the bike is having. I would say the main issue is the quality of the build parts on the motorbike. Royal Enfields have a little bit of a reputation that they tend to rust, and that reputation doesn't come from nowhere. That is pretty much true. I remember when I came back from my motorcycle surf trip, the whole chrome was basically faded, and I needed to polish the bike a lot, and I was a bit upset at that. Like, I had a moment where I was like, do I maybe want to sell the bike? Because it also depends a little bit on my perspective that I had at the time, because I previously owned a Japanese bike from the 1990s. The Japanese bikes from the 1990s are destroyable, basically. My XJ600, for example, saw the salt of winter riding, never got, like, autosol was a foreign word to that thing, crashed, and also had like the sea salt from like weeks of Iceland on the ring road, and was perfectly fine. And that, however, that is a thing that's unique to the Japanese bikes of the 1990s. If you look at other modern motorbikes, you see the tendency to rust as well. Like, it's not just Royal Enfield. However, there are other things, like for example, the paint isn't that thick. Like these tank pads aren't on there for nothing, because my jeans rubbed through the paint after 13,000 kilometers. It's also like, you know, paint isn't what it used to be, with like there being less harmful chemicals in them. That led to me having some buyer's regret for some time. However, in the contrast, the bike is really bulletproof. Like, yes, you have these little issues with the build quality of some parts, but the engine itself is pretty much unkillable. It's underpowered for 650cc. There's very little strain on the engine. I worked in a Royal Enfield dealership, and we rarely had problems with these bikes. We had like some issues on the 21 and 22 models with like sometimes broken gears, but that was basically a quality control issue in the factory in India, and that was exclusive to these years. After that, no issues like that. And if the engine was fine, basically it was fine, like then it ran. And also like in the dealership we had some contacts to like people from India that rode partially like hundreds of thousands of kilometers on these bikes. Like we had one contact of a guy who had like I think 200,000 something kilometers on the clock, and constantly was just going basically through chains and sprockets, and that was basically it. Another thing is the bike is really easy to service yourself. Like you can adjust the valves yourself. There are plenty of tutorials online. It's all a bit crammed in the bike. If you like working on it, it's easy, but it's crammed. So get used to like trying to get somewhere with your finger, and like it's kind of difficult. But like it's also like beginner friendly in that sense, which is really really nice. And also the bike in general, I would say, is the best beginner bike that you can get, because it basically has such a versatile field of application for motorcycle riding, and it's always a nice experience, even though it doesn't have that much power, and it still keeps basically it's like rite of presence after that, with it just being such a beautiful, charming experience. Like you can customize so many things on this motorbike. Like we now here have it as a scrambler with a K60 Scout tire. We have an ABS switch built out of some laptop cables. We have an up to mudguard. That's another thing. The bike is so simple that you can literally kind of get creative with it and be like, what can I do here? Even if you're now not the most experienced person when it comes to wrenching. And like basically the bike now looks like a scrambler. That's really, really nice. And I now, after 2 years, I'm kind of like, I rode enough off-road, rode a lot of stuff off-road, basically outside of being on the Royal Enfield, and it's mostly a city cruiser right now. And I rode the Continental for some time, and instead of now changing over to the Continental, I can just put the handlebars and the foot pegs on there. I'm still waiting for the seat. The handlebar and foot pegs already arrived, so you'll be seeing a changeover from that in the future as well. And in that way, it's so beautiful that you can reinvent the bike, you can make it your own, you can change things up if you like want a bit of a different experience. It also helps with the problems with basically maintaining the bike, because the exhaust has some points where you can't get to with like cleaning it properly, and at some point you will lose that battle, and then sooner or later you will want a new exhaust. Especially the back of the exhaust is a problem with like rain coming in there, and this little ring around here, you'll even with like flossing stuff, no chance. So sooner or later it makes sense to replace the exhaust. The sound of the bike is incredibly beautiful, so you get something out of replacing the exhaust, and also stock the exhaust already sounds really, really nice, even though it's heavy. Like holding the end of the exhaust out on your arm like this, less than a minute, this thing's heavy. The bike is really versatile in how you can use it. It's a really nice road bike. It's definitely a fun experience on road. However, you can also take it off-road. And for this kind of motorcycle, which is a modern classic, which doesn't look like an off-road bike, it's surprisingly capable and does a really good job there, and is plenty of fun and a really good base for a potential scrambler. I now have no modifications to the actual like suspension and everything, and it still did the job properly fine. However, the bike can feel, if you come from a modern bike, it can feel quite ancient and like a proper old bike, but that's a good thing, because from the other end, when I first got this motorbike and I was coming from all the old bikes, I was like, man, this thing feels so modern. It doesn't really feel like a retro bike, the anti-hopping clutch and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of the perfect line for like a modern retro bike, because from both ends of the spectrum, if you come from a modern bike, you're like, man, this thing is old. From an old bike, you're like, man, this thing is modern. So it really meets in the middle, and now compared to other bikes on the market, it's really a one-of-a-kind experience driving this thing. I also really love little details like the really thin handlebars. Like on the newer ones, they're kind of getting thicker, but like it really feels like handlebars on an old motorbike. And the experience of just having this as your bike and riding it around the city, you get a bunch of compliments for the bike. People will very regularly tell you that your bike looks really beautiful, but no one will ever tell you that you look good on your bike. Like that's, if you have like an old bike that just looks whatever, people will compliment you. If you have this bike, people will compliment the bike. And that's something to get used to. Like I expected it to be the other way around, and then got like, oh man, I'm now not in the focus anymore, but my bike is. So in that way, it's quite a lovely experience. How do I feel with the motorbike now after 2 years? Do I still take it out regularly? I'm quite busy with work, but if I have the chance, I really like taking it out, taking it on grocery runs and driving with it around the city and doing my small little trips. And for that, it is really, really lovely, and I like coming back to it. And it's just also nice that the bike doesn't have that much power, because it basically is the best at just being a motorcycle. You don't have like a crazy off-road capable travel enduro, you don't have a really fast super sport, you just have a motorbike that looks good and it does its job, and at doing its job, it's pretty much perfect. And in that way, it's a really, really lovely owning experience, and it's just really nice to turn around and look back to your bike. That's also still the case with now the bike having some patina on it, basically. And I'm now slowly developing into the phase of customizing things on the motorbike. I'll definitely keep the motorbike surfboard mount. My plan is to now kind of go back from scrambler more to a cafe racer, but still keep a bit off-roadish tires to still go on the one or other trail, because I did that also with the Continental. I even jumped the Continental, and it all does it perfectly. So all in all, I have to say it's quite lovely, and especially if you look at the price of the motorbike, it's a really nice experience all in all. In many ways, for me, this bike is the perfect storm, because there are some little imperfections about it that kind of make it charming. Like the handlebars wiggle a little bit at high speed, like on an old motorbike, and then the simplicity of it, and they're basically only being ABS and all that kind of stuff, made it a perfect storm when it came out. And I think that's why this bike is also so popular, and I really, really like it in that regard. I don't know if this magic recipe like that is repeatable with that level of charm, but I'm really, really happy with it, and I'm also really happy with it after 2 years. And don't forget to check out the motorcycle surfboard mount. It works for the Interceptor, the Continental, and on the other side, basically on this side, for the Bear as well. So definitely check that one out if you already own one of those motorbikes, and definitely leave your opinion on this bike in the comment section. Love to hear it, and we'll definitely look what your experiences are with your bikes, and see you guys in the next video.